Peace, fam. How y'all feeling today? Today, I'm talking about how to satisfy desire. Because, that's pretty much what everybody is going through, what everybody is working on. Everybody just want to satisfy their desires. So, it's a tricky practice, yo, because there's so many things. The only reason that people might be happy, sad, angry, disappointed, frustrated is typically because of desires. So realizing how can I not be a servant to these desires? Because so much of the time, the way we feel is due to things happening outside of self. Sometimes it might be things inside the self, but a lot of the time it's because of the meanings and the reactions to things happening outside of self. So how can we satisfy our desires? And that's the practice of life. Because a lot of the time we think so many different things are going to satisfy our desires. We think if I get a new job, if I get a new car, if I get a soulmate, if I get whatever it may be, it's like you think that desire is going to satisfy you. And once you have a desire, you become a servant to it, and you got to keep going until you get that desire. Then a lot of the time, people get that desire and realize, I'm still not satisfied. Because you might go and you might work so hard, you might get a bigger house, and then you realize, this house doesn't satisfy me. Now you need the house to be clean. Then you need to fill the house up. Then you get the house, then you need a car to go in the garage. Then you need furniture. Then you need so many different things. It's kind of like just a donkey chasing the carrot, and you just going on and on and on to satisfy these desires. And it never ends a lot of the time. A lot of the time, people go on and on and on and on and on. And it could go all the way up until sometimes people on their deathbed still chasing desire after desire. But it's definitely a way to feel a sense of satisfaction, fully satisfied. And a lot of the sages and the saints, they talk about this. One of my favorite gurus or God realized beings is Paramahansa Yogananda. And to satisfy desire, you do it by meditation. And you really don't satisfy desire. Desire is always gonna be there. But we gotta educate our desires to go towards something that's truly gonna satisfy us. We don't want to just have so many desires that when we get them, it's not going to satisfy us. And that's how most desires are. The only desire that could truly satisfy us is the desire to connect with the source of all energy. So that's what it's all about. Tapping into the source of all energy and realizing that if you serve the source of energy, realizing that source of energy is within you, and just serving that energy. And then as you energize, that's what satisfaction is. Satisfaction is a feeling, it's inside the body, and it comes from serving the source. So I'm reading a couple things from the self-realization lessons, and just a few basic things. So the way to self-realization. The way to a higher life is through the gradual expansion of your consciousness from delusory identification with your human nature and limitations to the perception and expression of your inherent divinity. So we gotta tap into our inherent divinity. There's so many things that you could identify with. You could identify with your ancestors from 100 years ago. You could identify with your ancestors from whenever it may be. But we want to trace it all the way back to the source and identify and realize the source of all creation is our ancestor. So life becomes ever more beautiful richer, and more wonderful in every way as you progress step by step to higher and more refined states of consciousness. So elevating consciousness is naturally happening. Everybody's going through different states of consciousness, different states of being. Even like if you look at the Bible shows you like every state of consciousness. It shows you the divine state of consciousness. It shows you the beggar state of consciousness. It shows you the businessman state of consciousness. And it shows you the Christ consciousness. So being able to fully go into that Christ consciousness and not just think of Christ consciousness, but think from Christ consciousness and tapping into that inherent divinity. That's how you tap into that inherent divinity. You do it by thinking from it. You don't do it by thinking of it. Because sometimes people like to think of God and think of Jesus, think of Krishna, think of Buddha, and think like, whoa, those are some cool guys doing that stuff. But the ability to go from thinking of something to thinking from it, it's a very big difference. And a lot of the scriptures, a lot of the stories, whether you're reading about Buddha, whether you're reading about Krishna, whether you're reading about Christ or Jesus, or whatever the personified divinity is, because a lot of religions personify God and make God like a person. But the reason it's made as a person is so that you can understand how to think from God. It's giving you the character and it's showing you the playbook pretty much. And if you look at Buddha, Krishna, Jesus Christ, they're all pretty much the same state of being. They're all sharing love. They're all serving God. They all have a common desire, and that's to serve the source of energy. So it's the same character in all books. So being able to change your desire from desiring things outside of self to really honoring your body as the temple of God and serving God within. That's the only desire. The desire to serve God within, that's the only one that could satisfy. And if you have a very strong desire, if you're a very passionate person, that could either be your best friend or your worst enemy. But in order to make it your best friend, because that passion, that desire is going to burn. It's not going nowhere. But you got to educate it. You got to bring it to the proper desire. And in yoga, that is serving the source of all energy without desire for results. Because if you do, sometimes people get into serving the highest, and they doing it for results. They going to church, they doing meditation, they doing it so they could get richer. They doing it so they could get more famous. They doing it for external material. But that takes away from the value of the service if you're doing it for results. Because when you're doing things for external results, then you get different anxiety, you get worried about different stuff. It's and then if you're not getting your results, you get frustrated. It takes you out of the moment. So the purpose of Bhakti Yoga is to truly serve the source of all energy without desiring the fruits of your work. So meditation, yoga, it's not about just not working. It's about working for the source of your energy, working for God. Not working for material, not working for money, not working for whatever external treasure it may be. But taking that desire away from that, because those external treasures can never satisfy us. Whatever it is, whether it's a certain girl that we want, whether it's a certain car, a certain house, none of these things can satisfy self. You'll get it, and then you'll need something else. And then you'll get that, and then you'll need something else. No matter what the external desire is, you're going to always need something else until you transfer that external desire to an internal desire. And then once we desire to connect with the God within us, because the body is the temple of God. That's the only thing that's truly going to satisfy us. And we use our willpower, our attention, our energy to connect to source. And once we can make that connection to source, that's how we truly energize. That's how we truly become satisfied. But until we make that connection to source, we're constantly being drained. It's like a Tesla, kind of like a Tesla car. You can't just keep driving, going, chasing all your desires, but never connecting to a source. Because this human form is a vehicle as well. And as soon as we disconnect from source, as soon as we're born, we slowly being drained and drained and drained through chasing so many different desires. And if we could connect to source in this form, then we could fully energize ourselves. We could fully tap into our highest state of being. But if we keep chasing all these desires and think that we never have to connect to source, then our batteries die. And then you got to go to a new form of existence. So in yoga philosophy, it talks about reincarnation. And the purpose of this human form is to connect to the highest source of energy. Sometimes we think that we'll be satisfied by so many things. Sometimes we think, oh, if I get this orgasm, then I'll be satisfied. But an animal could reach an orgasm. Like a simple squirrel, a bird, like these things could get an orgasm. That's not, when we're in a human form, there's higher states of pleasure, there's higher states of blissfulness than just that orgasm. So knowing that we have chakras, we have different body systems, we have the energy within us. When we're in this human form, we have the opportunity to reach a divine state of consciousness. And that's really all that's going to satisfy us, is connecting to God. Realizing my body is the temple of God and truly connecting with the God within me. That's the only desire. Because until I get that desire is inside of us so that we could transfer that desire from the external world to desire and to connect with the source. That's why we have desire. But sometimes we also have free will. So we have desire and we have free will. So because we have free will, we could choose to desire anything. And then there's so many different things we can desire, but only one thing is going to fully satisfy us. Sometimes people are in a delusion thinking that, oh, if world peace happens, that's going to satisfy me. If I get this car, if I get this girl, if I get an A on this test, there's so many things that you are in delusion and you think it's going to satisfy you. But then once you get it, it loses that value. You could desire to get a certain girl, then once you get her, it starts to go down in value. You don't appreciate it as much anymore. So in a sense, a lot of these desires are greater when they aren't satisfied. Because once you satisfy that desire, you're like, okay, I'm not even fully satisfied. Whether it's that girl, whether it's a Lamborghini, whether it's a Rolls Royce. When you have the desire for it, when you don't actually have it, it's much more valuable than when you actually get it. So this is what meditation is for. Meditation, if you actually have a desire to connect with God within your body, and you go within yourself and you connect to God within your body, there is no more desire. That is that full satisfaction. And we don't have to make up the process on how to do that. All you got to do is find, it's God realized beings that exist. Paramahansa Yogananda, I believe, is one of them. They got Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna, you got Swami Prabhupada. You got so many divine beings that show us how to connect to the source of all energy. So you could definitely go within your body because you got God within your body. You could figure it out by yourself, but you don't have to. You could find a sage or a saint that you resonate with and take the instructions that they left behind. Paramahansa Yogananda left some very clear instructions on how to connect to source. And even if Even it puts you on the right track. It puts me on the right track. You got to find out what the right thing for you. But long as you have the desire to connect to the source of energy, you're going to be guided by unseen forces. All you got to do is have the desire. Because once we have a desire for something, our mind, our attention, our awareness becomes servant to that desire. And even the unseen forces become servant to that desire. And develop the desire to connect to the source of all energy. That's all we got to do is transfer our desire for the external to connect to the source of all energy. I'm going to read a little bit more from the self-realization lessons. So always remember what self-realization means. So as you pursue the studies and spiritual practices in these lessons, keep the goal always before you and the definition of self-realization that you have been given. So self-realization is the knowing in mind, body, and soul that we are one with the omnipresence of God. That we do not have to pray that it comes to us. That we are not merely near it at all times, but that God's omnipresence is our omnipresence. That we are just as much part of Him now as we will ever be. All we have to do is improve our knowing. So that's what it's all about, yo. Self-realization. Now I'll read some more tomorrow. I'm just doing like cool little 20-minute sections. I'm gonna go practice some yoga. Alright, peace and blessings. I'm gonna go create some music. The goal here is to create a space where self-realization is the priority. So I'm not making music or YouTube videos. I share my yoga practice, I share meditation. And we like to work with community to build different events that are focused on self-realization, elevating to higher states of consciousness, love, appreciation, gratitude, all that good stuff. So appreciate the present moment. Feel gifted. Happy birthday. Happy present moment. That's what it is. Namaste.